My name is Elena. I have learned English for a long time. I can understand when I read or listen. But when I try to speak, something strange happens. My words get stuck. My tongue does not move fast enough. I know the words in my head, but they don't come out. It feels like I am trapped in my own mouth. One day in class, the teacher asked us to introduce ourselves. My heart started beating very fast. I looked around. Everyone was talking. Some students spoke slowly. Others spoke with confidence. My turn was coming next. The teacher said, "Elena." I froze. My mouth opened, but no words came out. Silence. Everyone was waiting for me to speak. My hands felt cold. The teacher said kindly, "Go ahead." I forced myself to say, My name is Elena." My voice was small. I forgot the rest. My mind went blank. The teacher smiled and said, "Thank you, Elena," then called the next student. I let out a big breath. I felt terrible. Why was this so hard? I knew how to say my name. I knew many words, but when I had to speak, everything disappeared. After class, I stayed behind. The teacher was packing her books. I walked up to her. My words got stuck again, but I forced them out. I said, "I can understand, but I can't speak." She turned to me and said, "That is normal." I frowned and looked confused. She said, "Your tongue is not used to English sounds." My tongue? I thought the problem was in my brain, not my tongue. She smiled and said, "Speaking is not just thinking. It is training your mouth. Your tongue needs practice." I never thought about that before. I always thought my brain was the problem. But my tongue? That was new. The teacher said, "I know a method that can help you." I leaned closer. She said it was a secret method, something special. I needed to know. She smiled and said, "It's simple. You need to read out loud every day, and you need to practice shadowing." I blinked and asked, "Read out loud." Shadowing. What is that? I was confused. She saw my confusion and said, "Come tomorrow after class. I will show you." I nodded. A small hope started to grow inside me. Could this really work? Would I finally be able to speak? I walked home thinking about her words. My tongue needed practice. Maybe my brain was not broken. Maybe I just needed to train my mouth, like an athlete trains their body. Tomorrow, I would find out the secret. Would it change everything? The next day, I stayed after class. My teacher was waiting with a book in her hands. I sat down. My heart was beating fast again. She handed me the book and said, "Read this." I looked at the page. The words were simple. I knew them, but reading out loud was different. I cleared my throat and said, "The cat is on the table." My voice was shaky. My tongue felt heavy. The teacher nodded and said, "Read it again." I frowned and read it again. My mouth felt slow. The words felt strange. She said, "Why again?" I sighed and read it again. This time the words came out faster. She smiled and said, "Good. Now listen." She took out her phone and played an audio. A voice spoke clearly. "The cat is on the table." The voice was clear and natural. She said, "Now repeat after the voice." I hesitated. "Repeat right after the voice." She pressed play again. "The cat is on the table." I tried to copy. "The cat is on the table." She shook her head and said, "No. Don't wait. Speak at the same time as the voice." At the same time? That sounded impossible. She played the audio again. I tried to say, "The cat is on the table," but I was too slow. Again and again. I was frustrated. This was very hard. She smiled and said, "Yes, it is hard, but it works." I didn't believe her. I felt silly. I thought I would never get better. She stood up and asked Elena, "Do you know how babies learn to speak?" I shook my head. She said they listen. They copy. They don't think about grammar. They just repeat. I looked at the phone. The voice spoke again. I took a deep breath and tried one more time. "The cat is on the table." This time I spoke with the voice. Not perfect, not fast, but a little better. The teacher nodded and said, "Good. Now do this every day. Read out loud and shadow the audio. Your tongue will learn." Would this really work? Could I finally speak English without fear? There was only one way to find out. That night, I sat on my bed with the book. I took a deep breath. The teacher said to read out loud every day, so I opened the book and started again. "The cat is on the table." My voice was weak. I cleared my throat and tried again. It still felt strange. My tongue moved slowly. The words did not feel natural. I sighed. This was harder than I thought. Then I remembered the second part, shadowing. I picked up my phone and searched for an English video. I found one about daily life. A woman in the video said I wake up at 7 a.m. I pressed play and tried to say the words at the same time. I wake up at 7 a.m. Too slow. I couldn't keep up. Again, I wake up at 7 a.m. Still too slow. Frustration grew inside me. Was this really going to work? Maybe I wasn't good at English. Maybe I would never speak well. I wanted to stop, but then I heard my teacher's voice in my head. "Your tongue is not used to English sounds, but it will learn." I took a deep breath and tried again. I wake up at 7 a.m. Better. Again, I wake up at 7 a.m. A little faster. I kept going. I repeated every sentence. Sometimes I got it right. Sometimes I got it wrong. But I didn't stop. The next morning, I tried something different. While brushing my teeth, I said, "I brush my teeth." While making my bed, I said, "I make my bed." It felt silly, but I kept going. At school, I wanted to test myself. I saw my friend Maria. Usually, I spoke Spanish with her. But today, I decided to try English. "Hi, Maria," I said. She smiled. "Hi, Elena." I hesitated. I wanted to say more. My mind searched for words. I wake up at 7 a.m. I blurted out. Maria laughed. Okay. I felt embarrassed. Why did I say that? It made no sense. But then she said, "I wake up at 6 a.m. I stared at her. She answered me. It was a conversation. A simple one, but still a conversation. Maybe this was working. That night, I practiced again. More reading, more shadowing, more speaking. My tongue felt tired, but I knew something was changing. Was I finally learning to speak English? The next morning, I walked into class feeling different. I had been practicing every day, reading out loud, shadowing, speaking to myself in small moments. My tongue was still slow, but I felt a small change. The words didn't feel as strange. I knew my voice was getting a little stronger, a little clearer. The teacher smiled at the class and said, "Today we will have a speaking activity." My stomach dropped. Speaking in front of everyone. No, I wasn't ready. But the teacher continued. "Each of you will stand up and talk about your daily routine." One by one, my classmates stood up. Some spoke slowly. Others were fast. Some made mistakes, but they all spoke. Then the teacher called my name. "Elena, your turn." My hands felt cold. My heart pounded. I stood up slowly. I looked around. Everyone was watching. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Not again. No. I had practiced. I had worked so hard. This couldn't happen again. I closed my eyes for a second. Then I heard a voice in my head, my own voice from my practice. I wake up at 7 a.m. That's right. I had said that sentence 100 times. I knew it. I took a deep breath. Then I spoke, I wake up at 7 a.m. I heard my own voice. It was clear. It was strong. I continued. I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast. I go to school. I wasn't thinking about grammar. I wasn't translating in my head. The words just came out. I looked at my teacher. She was smiling. My classmates were nodding. I finished my sentences and sat down. My hands were shaking. Had I really done it? Had I really spoken English in front of everyone? The teacher clapped and said, "Great job, Elena." I felt something new pride. For the first time, I believed I could speak English. After class, Maria ran up to me. "Elena, you spoke so well," she said. I smiled and said, "Thank you." Then she tilted her head and asked, "Can you help me?" I blinked. "Help her," she said. "I can understand English, but I can't speak." Those were my own words, my own problem. Now someone was asking me for help. I thought for a moment, then took out my phone and played an audio. "Listen," I said. Maria listened and then repeated with the speaker. She hesitated. "I can't," she said. I smiled and said, "Yes, you can." Again, she tried. She was slow. Her voice was weak. I knew that feeling. I had been there. She sighed and said, "This is hard." I laughed and said, "Yes, but it works." She looked at me and asked, "How do you know?" I pointed to myself and said, "Because 2 weeks ago, I was you." Her eyes widened. "Really?" she said. I nodded. I thought I couldn't speak, but I practiced. My tongue learned, and today I spoke in class. Maria smiled. "So it really works?" she asked. I smiled back. "Yes. And now I will help you." She took a deep breath and said, "Okay." We played the audio again. This time her voice was stronger. I watched her and realized something. I wasn't just learning English anymore. I was teaching it. Had I really come this far? Was I really helping someone else? Now this journey wasn't just about me. It was about us. Maria and I practiced every day. We read out loud together. We did shadowing. Sometimes we made mistakes. Sometimes we laughed. But we didn't stop. One day, Maria came to me excited. "Elena, something happened," she said. I raised my eyebrow. "What?" She smiled and said, "Today in class, the teacher asked a question, and I answered." I gasped. "You spoke?" She nodded. Yes." The words just came out. I didn't think. I just spoke. I grinned and said, "See, I told you this works." She laughed and said, "You were right." I felt proud, not just for her, but for us. We had done this together. Then something even bigger happened. One afternoon, the teacher walked up to me. "Elena, can I talk to you?" she asked. I felt nervous. Had I done something wrong? She smiled and said, "I have been watching you. You have improved a lot." I blushed. "Thank you," she continued. "And I see you helping Maria." I nodded. "Yes, she is learning too." She tilted her head and asked, "Would you like to help more students?" I froze. Most students were afraid to speak, but I understood that fear. I knew how to help them. My heart started beating fast. Me helping others. I thought about my first day, how I had been too scared to speak, how my words had gotten stuck. And now the teacher wanted me to help others. I looked at Maria. She was smiling at me. I took a deep breath and said, "Yes, I want to help." The teacher clapped her hands and said, "Wonderful. You will be a great helper." That night, I thought about everything. A few weeks ago, I thought I would never speak English. But I was wrong. My tongue had learned, my fear had disappeared. And now I was not just speaking, I was teaching. If I could do this, anyone could. After that day, my journey with English changed a lot. I felt stronger and more confident, but I knew I still had a long way to go. My teacher's secret method of reading out loud and shadowing was not easy, but I could see it helped me a lot. It was like training a muscle. At first, my tongue was slow and heavy, but every day it got a little faster and lighter. I practiced every day. Some days were harder than others. Sometimes my voice was weak, and I felt silly trying to say the words perfectly. But I remembered what my teacher said. Speaking English is not about being perfect. It's about practicing and trying, even when it feels strange. So I kept going. One evening, I sat in my room with my book and my phone. I played an English video about daily life and tried to repeat every word at the same time as the speaker. At first, I was slow. I could not keep up. Sometimes I made mistakes or forgot words. I felt frustrated. It was hard, but I did not stop. I told myself, my tongue is learning. It just needs time. I repeated the sentences many times. Slowly, my voice got stronger. I felt a little better each time. I started to believe that I could speak English well one day. At school, I found little moments to practice. While waiting for the bus or walking to class, I said English words and sentences quietly to myself. I also tried to speak to Maria in English more often. It was still hard to find the right words, but she was patient and encouraging. One day, I decided to try speaking English in front of my family. I told them about my day using simple sentences. They smiled and cheered me on. It felt good to speak English outside of class. Their support made me want to practice more. I also learned that making mistakes was okay. When I said something wrong, I laughed and tried again. My teacher told me mistakes are part of learning. Don't be afraid of them. This helped me relax. I stopped worrying about being perfect and started enjoying speaking English. Sometimes I practiced with my phone's voice recorder. I recorded myself reading sentences out loud and then listened to the recording. This helped me hear how I sounded and what I needed to improve. It was fun to see my progress. As I practiced more, I noticed my tongue was not as heavy. My words came out more easily. I was still slow, but I was moving forward. I was proud of myself for not giving up. One day at school, the teacher asked us to describe our daily routine again. This time, I felt ready. I stood in front of the class and spoke clearly. I didn't rush. I spoke slowly and carefully. My classmates listened and smiled. The teacher nodded and said, "Very good, Elena." After class, Maria told me she was trying the shadowing method too. She said it was hard but fun. We decided to practice together more often. Helping Maria made me feel happy. It showed me that I was getting better and could share what I learned. I realized that speaking English was not just about knowing words. It was about training my mouth and tongue to make new sounds. My brain could understand the words, but my tongue needed time to learn how to say them. That was a new idea for me, and it changed how I practiced. I also learned that fear was normal. Many students were afraid to speak English, but fear could be overcome with practice and support. My teacher and Maria helped me, and I wanted to help others too. I started to feel that speaking English was possible. It was not easy, but it was not impossible either. Every small step was progress. I learned to be patient with myself and to celebrate little victories. This journey taught me something important. Learning to speak a new language is like learning to dance or play sports. You need to practice regularly, even if you make mistakes or feel shy. The more you practice, the better you get. I felt hopeful for the future. I knew I could speak English more and more each day. I wanted to keep practicing, keep learning, and keep helping others who felt afraid to speak. The secret was simple but powerful. Practice reading out loud and shadowing every day. It trains your tongue, builds your confidence, and helps your words come out naturally. I'm still learning, but I'm no longer afraid. I know I will speak English well one day, and I know that if I can do it, others can too. The next big step in my English journey was speaking in front of the whole class. Even though I had practiced a lot, the thought of standing up and talking made my stomach feel like butterflies were flying inside. I was nervous. I remembered how hard it had been, before how my words had gotten stuck and my mouth had frozen. But this time, I wanted to try differently. The teacher announced, "Today, each of you will talk about your daily routine." My heart beat fast. I watched as my classmates went one by one. Some spoke slowly, others were confident. Some made mistakes, but they all spoke. I saw how brave they were. I wanted to be brave too. When the teacher called my name, I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking. I looked at my classmates and took a deep breath. I closed my eyes for a moment and remembered all the practice I had done. I remembered the sentences I had said 100 times alone in my room. I wake up at 7 a.m. The words came to my mind clearly. I opened my eyes and spoke, "I wake up at 7 a.m. My voice was not perfect, but it was strong. I continued, "I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast. I go to school." I did not stop to think about grammar or translation. The words came out naturally. I could feel my tongue moving more freely than before. My classmates listened quietly. Some nodded and smiled. My teacher smiled at me with encouragement. When I finished, I sat down with my hands still a little shaky, but my heart full of pride. For the first time, I spoke English in front of the whole class, and I did not freeze. After class, Maria came to me with a big smile. "Elena, you spoke so well," she said. I felt happy and said, "Thank you." Then she asked, "Can you help me learn to speak like you?" I was surprised but glad. Now, I was the one helping someone else. Helping Maria was different from practicing alone. When I saw her struggle to say words, I remembered how I had felt. I wanted to encourage her and share the secret method my teacher taught me. We practiced reading out loud and shadowing together. Sometimes it was slow and frustrating, but we laughed and tried again. Watching Maria improve gave me hope and joy. I was learning and teaching at the same time. I realized that learning a language was not just about myself. It was about sharing and helping others. One day, the teacher noticed and asked if I wanted to help more students who were afraid to speak. My heart beat fast. I thought about my first day when I was too scared to say even my name. But now, I wanted to help others feel less afraid. I said yes. The teacher was happy and said I would be a great helper. I felt proud and excited. Helping others gave me new confidence in my own English skills. Every day I kept practicing and helping. I read out loud with Maria and other students. We did shadowing exercises together. Sometimes we made mistakes, but we never gave up. We helped each other learn. Slowly, I noticed I was not just speaking English better, but I was also growing as a person. I learned to be patient with myself. I learned that fear could be faced and overcome. I learned the value of practice and friendship. Now, when I speak English, I feel calm and happy. I know I will still make mistakes, but that is okay. Every word I say is a step forward. Looking back, I see how far I have come. From the day I froze in class to now, I have learned that speaking English is possible with courage and practice. I am proud of my progress and excited for the future. My journey is not over, but I am no longer afraid. I have found a way to speak, to share, and to grow. And I want everyone who struggles with English to know you can do it too. Now, I want to share what I learned from this whole experience. When I started, I thought speaking English was impossible for me. I believed my words would always get stuck. I thought my tongue would never learn to move quickly with English sounds. But I was wrong. It wasn't my brain or my ability that was the problem. It was my tongue. Like a muscle, my tongue needed training. It needed practice every day. I learned that many people understand English well, but feel afraid to speak. They worry their words won't come out right, or they will make mistakes. I was one of them. But now I know that speaking is not about being perfect. It is about trying, practicing, and not giving up. Your tongue will get stronger if you use it every day. I want to tell everyone who feels scared to speak English. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start now. Read out loud. Repeat words. Shadow English speakers on videos or audios. Speak even if it is not perfect. Your tongue will learn. Your confidence will grow. One day, you will surprise yourself just like I did. My teacher helped me a lot, but I also helped myself. I worked hard and I did not give up. Then I helped my friend Maria. She struggled like I did. Together, we practiced and got better. Helping others made my own English stronger and made me happy inside. Now, I am not only learning, but teaching too. This journey is bigger than just me. You don't need to do big things to be important. Everyone has value and meaning in life. Even small steps like reading out loud or saying a simple sentence can change everything. You are important, just as you are. Thank you for listening to my story on BTM English Story. If you feel inspired, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We will share more stories and tips to help you learn English with joy and confidence. Remember, every word you speak is a step forward. Keep practicing and never give up. You can do it.